Fala pessoal, boa noite, boa sexta para todo mundo. Começando a transmissão, acabou de começar a transmissão aqui da ESPN. Só me confirmem se o meu áudio tá ok para a gente poder comentar durante a partida. Partida hoje de Kentucky, que está jogando em casa, contra Marshall. Kentucky hoje atual número 6 do país e Marshall atual número 7. A gente vai ter brasileiros dos dois lados. Luca Rodrigues de Kentucky, não sei se a família do Luca está aqui. Do lado de Marshall a gente já conhece, tem o Vini, o Guga, o João, então muitos brasileiros também na equipe de Marshall. Já vou soltar aqui a transmissão para começar, a gente ainda tem que ver quais vão ser as equipes titulares de cada lado e aí a gente volta para comentar. Eles estão soltando agora as equipes titulares. Me confirmem também se o áudio da transmissão tá ok, beleza? Eu vou soltar aqui, vou sair um pouco para ficar só a transmissão e a gente volta. Eles estão mostrando as últimas partidas. Marshall e Kentucky começaram a temporada muito bem. E hoje é primeiro jogo da conferência para as duas equipes. Ó, o Luca ali, número 3, então já é titular da equipe de Kentucky. E esse é o primeiro jogo da conferência Sun Belt Conference. As duas equipes mudaram de conferência nessa temporada, então vai ser legal a gente ver as duas estreando nessa nova conferência. Lembrando que o jogo é na casa de Kentucky de branco e Marshall de preto. Fechou? Vou sair aqui, me avisem se o áudio da transmissão tá ok. I've got that blue sky, I've got that sunshine.
You use a map in your car. Why not use a map with your cart? Store mode in the Home Depot app makes doing easy, showing you.
O áudio da transmissão estava ok, agora eu mutei só porque tem intervalo, enfim, para não ter problema com a transmissão. Então, já mandar um abraço para o Marcos, família do Luca, como eu falei, família do Luca costuma acompanhar bastante. Tem um cara aí que deve ser gringo torcendo para Marshall. Outros brasileiros que podem estar acompanhando aqui a transmissão, depois manda um alô só para a gente saber quem que está acompanhando. Como eu falei, jogo muito importante para a gente ver o nível mais alto de D1, principalmente para quem está querendo ir para os Estados Unidos, está querendo transferir. Muitos brasileiros que estão nos Estados Unidos também costumam acompanhar a transmissão. Lembrar só também que família, todo mundo que ainda não está inscrito no canal, quiser acompanhar as outras transmissões, estou conversando com os meninos da UCF para a gente trazer alguns jogos deles. Quando entrar em mata-mata também a gente fazer essa cobertura maior. Lembrar de inscrever no canal aqui embaixo e também dar o like só para dar moral, aparecer para mais gente. Daqui a pouco vai lotar de gringo por aqui também. Abraço para Adolfo, pai do João Pedro também brasileiro da Marshall. Não consegui ver ainda como que estão as equipes titulares, a Marshall roda bastante o elenco, então vamos conferir como que estão os titulares por lá já. O que mais que eu posso trazer de informação? Como a conferência vai começar agora, dentro da conferência ainda não tem o ranqueamento, como a gente fala, esse ranqueamento de número 6 do país, número 7 do país, é o ranking nacional, baseado nos jogos fora de conferência. Então agora é o primeiro jogo que realmente entra naquilo de vale 3 pontos, vale vaga nos playoffs de conferência. Então esse é o primeiro jogo valendo pontuação. Antigamente os outros jogos estavam valendo só entre aspas, que eu já fiz várias lives, já expliquei que o ranqueamento pode decidir uma vaga em Nationals. A gente está falando aqui de Kentucky e Marshall. As duas equipes jogam a mesma conferência, a Sun Belt. No final das contas, só um vai ser campeão, uma dessas duas equipes, e a outra precisa estar bem ranqueada para chegar aos Nationals pelos convites, pelas equipes convidadas. Então pode ser que Kentucky e Marshall vão para os Nationals, mas uma vai como campeã da conferência e a outra como convidada pelo ranqueamento. Vou soltar o áudio, me avisem se está ok o áudio da transmissão. O áudio da transmissão está ok? Ó, já vendo aqui, brasileiro de Marshall, não consegui achar nenhum naquela imagem. Mas provavelmente o Gabriel Alves, lateral esquerdo, até o Hélio está aqui, o Hélio pai dele, o Gabriel conversa bastante com a gente. está nessa caminhada para chegar no profissional. Normalmente o Vinícius, número 10, também costuma começar jogando, apareceu ele agora. Mas enfim, vou deixar soltar a transmissão e aí a gente volta. Ó, time titular de Kentucky, Luke é titular, né, o zagueiro número 3. Destaque para o número 7, Nick Gutman, que é um alemão, tem jogado bastante bem. E o número 9, não estou conseguindo ler o nome dele, que está muito pequeno, mas é um alemão alto também que tem feito muitos gols nessa temporada. Então, zaga de Marshall vai ter que prestar atenção com ele. Equipe de Marshall dos brasileiros, Vinícius, número 10, e o Gabriel. São esses dois brasileiros começando como titulares ali. Abraço para o Rafa Simões, coach, assistant coach brasileiro, também já fizemos várias entrevistas, resenha com ele, é muito parceiro nosso também. Luca, número 3, enfim, vai começar a partida. Vou soltar, tendo alguma coisa para comentar, eu volto aí. Então, valeu, galera. Lembre de clicar no like aqui embaixo, todo mundo, para aparecer para mais gente. E aí, já a gente volta, vai começar a partida.
At the Bell Soccer Complex here in Kentucky. Wildcats with the first possession. Cats in white tonight. Marshall in black with some green numbers on them. And a packed house.
Yeah, the crowd has gotten bigger and bigger here this season and over the last few seasons here at the Bell.
Well, I think just the level of soccer from the Kentucky program, if you're talking about specifically here, but then the quality of this matchup, like we've seen the last couple of years. I mean, you're looking at back-to-back Conference USA champions between these two teams right here.
Yeah, you've got Kentucky, who are always up around in and around the mix when it comes to, tournament play. And then you've got Marshall, who in the last few years have won a national championship and really turned the program into something that was, really pushing the boat to something that is a real powerhouse here in college soccer.
And the man you just saw on your screen there is a big part of the reason why. Marshall head coach Chris Grossi in his 6th season now with the Herd, and he's done a lot of good for this program.
Yeah, he certainly has. I mean, Chris is a confident coach, and speaking to him yesterday, he cares first and foremost about his players and what his team's going to do, and I think that's a mark of a confident coach.
2 confident coaches tonight on the sideline for both of these programs, and for good reason. I mean, this is a top 10 matchup. I think we're going to be able to tell that pretty early on here tonight.
Yeah, we see two teams that like to keep possession. Going to be a real football battle, I believe.
So when you have 2 teams like that, Gavin, you have 2 teams, each one wants to win the battle of possession, obviously. How do you find each other's strengths and weaknesses in that way?
I think both teams will start off quite patient here, trying to retain possession. And, it's about unlocking. It's not so different to chess when you're trying to keep possession of the ball and you have 2 possession-based teams. You're trying to unlock that organization that the other team will have in the midfield and across their back line. And whatever team does that the best.
Colin Masiunas with a throw in for the Herd. He's a grad student from Morgantown, West Virginia, a little bit of a hometown kid. Definitely has had a big impact on this program over the years.
Yeah, you have a lot of experience out here on both teams. Both teams.
And there you see Kentucky's head man in charge, Johan Sedu, in his 11th season as Kentucky's head coach. A win record unlike anything we've seen here in UK soccer history. And I think just his attitude about the game has certainly been contagious for his players. You can see it and hear it in every conversation we've had with him this year.
Yeah, talking to him about his last result, that tie against Tulsa, he talks about his team's core values, and one of them is problem solving. He says, that the guys just didn't solve problems out there today, or against Tulsa, and that's a mark of a good coach. Those players have very clear expectations, and he expects a lot out of them.
That's Oliver Simla in the box for the Herd. He is going to be a key part of their attack tonight, Gavin. He's not your typical keeper. He's not waiting for you to come to him. He wants to be a part of their game plan, and he certainly is.
Yeah, and you can see he's already sort of 30 yards off his goal line here, and he plays like a third center back in his ability just to distribute and start off that attack from all the way back there.
Marshall trying to get some momentum going toward the goal. You see Milo Yosef takes the first shot, but the Cats are able to keep it in bounds. That's going to be
That's Rodriguez not taking any chances. We talked about him before we got started.
very consistent, this man right here. Rodriguez has been absolutely a stalwart for the Wildcats this year. Throwing Kentucky
Ó,
off the head of
Vinícius, que é o
Aitor
camisa 10 de
Bjorgolfsson.
Marshall, tentou fazer uma jogada
Certainly one
bem,
of the Cats'
bem
most dynamic
interceptada
offensive
pelo
weapons out
Luca e
there.
até a
Someone you know has to
comentarista
be
deu
at the
uma
top of Marshall's
elogiada,
scouting
falou que ele
report.
tem feito um
You don't get
campeonato
ready
muito
for
bom até
Kentucky without
agora.
preparing
Para quem
for
está
Aitor
buscando
Bjorgolfsson.
isso de ir para
Milo
os
Joseph
Estados
tries to
Unidos,
keep it in
é
play.
legal essa
Be
transmissão
off his
também,
foot,
porque um
Wildcat
dos
ball.
comentaristas ele parece ser britânico, né? O inglês, escocês, enfim, tem um sotaque carregado. E lá vocês vão encontrar bastante treinador e outros atletas britânicos também. Então é bom
just
vocês
early
irem
on
pegando
causing
esse
some trouble for
sotaque.
Max
E
Miller out
aí,
there.
finalização agora do Vinícius um pouco por
I
cima
watched him
para a
against
direita,
Cleveland
mas
State.
início bom de jogo,
He's
4
fast, he's
minutos,
creative,
vamos
and a
continuar
little bit
acompanhando.
unpredictable against a freshman like Max Miller, who has demonstrated that he's sort of an old head on young shoulders and has all the physical capabilities to play at this level. Still won't be without challenge here against Joseph.
Certainly not. Joseph has been a dynamic threat for the Herd all season. His coach, in our conversations with him, said he has just come with a new attitude this year, much more professional. He is focused. He's dialed in, doing whatever it takes for his team to really feel his impact.
And perhaps a new hairstyle.
Nothing wrong with that. If you need to switch up the mojo, that's okay. Whatever it takes.
You certainly don't miss him out there in those
Aproveitar a
yellow boots.
falta aqui, o jogo parado um pouco. Legal, o que essa era uma das coisas que eu ia mencionar, o Marcos falou. O Luca de Kentucky e o Gabriel Alves, que é o lateral esquerdo de Marshall, jogaram juntos aqui no Brasil, se eu não me engano, no São Bento, né? Então acho que por isso que ele falou do Bentão. Então as famílias devem se conhecer também. Então, atletas que jogaram juntos na base aqui no Brasil foram para os Estados Unidos, cada um seguiu o seu caminho e estão se enfrentando agora nessa partida de altíssimo nível. Então, bem interessante isso.
So far this season from Marshall, you see it on your screen. 4 wins, 1 loss. Best win, of course, comes against number 2 Pittsburgh. That's one you have to study if you're getting ready to watch this team play, because anytime you take on the number 2 team in America and come out with a win, that's a big one. And you learned a lot about that team if you saw that game, especially about the dynamic abilities of Matthew Bell.
Yeah, Bell, he leads this team in many senses, and everything that happens going forward, a lot of it revolves around him. And he's the guy they're looking for, which, at his level, when you're playing against him, knowing that doesn't necessarily help. And, that loss against Butler, Kentucky would have thought a little bit differently about that game. It's one that was heavily delayed by lightning, and, Butler has always been a tough place to go. Having gone there, a couple of times over the years myself, all times delayed by lightning as well. There must be something about the area.
And you've played at Marshall before, am I right?
I have played at Marshall a handful of times. Always a tough place to go. I think when you want to win championships like they did, playing at home has to be something that you feel confident doing and that you have a lot of success doing. And they've been able to do that.
Bjorgolfsson taken down twice on that one. We'll get another look at it here. Gavin, what do you see?
Yeah, Dugan just getting himself, or not Dugan, it might have been.
That's Alex Bamford.
Alex Bamford, just not quite timing that, for Bjorgolfsson as you would hope.
Bamford is a great example of a player who sticks it out and waits his turn just long enough to get himself a chance on the pitch. He started earning playing time late last season. Now he's averaging 82 minutes a match and become a real threat on this team. That'll be Casper Grening for the Wildcats, 6-foot sophomore out of Denmark. 2 goals already on the year, plus 1 assist, taken 13 shots, 5 of which on frame.
Yeah, Grening has really made a name for himself here in his first year.
Simla lining up to put it back in play for the Herd. Joseph is there.
Grasso with a tremendous, tremendous win. That aerial battle is going to be an important one.
That's speedster Max Miller trying to go one-on-one to try and earn possession against Matthew Bell. And Gavin, those are definitely the two fastest players out there today.
Yes, yeah. I hope our camera folks are able to keep up with those two. Yeah, Max Miller, just being cute and trying to be as composed as he can. I think that's a good way to start the game. You can't start off too quiet against this Marshall team if you're Kentucky.
Itar Björgolfsson's trying to chase it down. He'll have another opportunity at it, but the Herd will take back over. Anytime you get Björgolfsson in the open field like that, if you're Marshall, you get a little nervous because Björgolfsson has just been able to create so many opportunities for himself and his teammates so far this year. The Wildcats, of course, 4-0-1. Coming off a win against number 10 Louisville, and then, of course, we mentioned that draw at number 20 Tulsa. That's the one I think is on their minds the most tonight.
Yeah, certainly Wildcats will be out there testing their bounce-back ability.
And I think what's interesting about that is how much that has to start in practice. You can't decide tonight, we need to bounce back. You have to make that decision early on in the week and really set the tone for this game every day at practice.
Yeah, and talking to Johan during the week, he talked about how important some of those senior players are. The likes of Robert Screen, who, he admitted didn't have a strong game against Tulsa. And you look for players like that to lead you out of the trenches, I think, when you're having those moments against Tulsa.
And there he is right now, Robert Screen, with a kick toward the box. Andrew Erickson will take over.
Very composed from Erickson. Erickson's one of those guys who's only improved as the season's gone on. He looks like he's got more confident about doing something like he's just done there a moment ago and thrown a little move to get himself in a more advanced position.
Screen with the throw into Gutman, got the start tonight. 5'8" senior out of Germany.
Not happy with the call there from our referee. Semle, we saw him a moment ago, just what a composed pass he had under a lot of pressure from Björgolfsson. I think that sort of illuminates what he's able to offer this Marshall defense.
That's Gabriel Alves, who hits the ground on the play. Looks to be okay, just readjusting some things. Quick breather. Clock is still running. We're just about 12 minutes into this one. And you talk about Simla, he's a guy who has played against Kentucky now multiple times. He knows what this rivalry is all about. And he knows how intense it can get. We've seen it the last couple of times these teams have faced off against each other.
Yeah, and you're always looking for your goalkeeper to be a leader, captain or otherwise. Everything starts with them. They dictate the tempo with everything they do.
Joseph taken down on the play.
Maurice pleading his innocence.
We'll take another look at it here.
He may have got the ball, but I think he got Joseph to get the ball. This would be a better angle for us. I think if Maurice sees this back later on, he won't have any complaints.
It's always worth trying to plead your innocence, right? In the moment.
Absolutely.
Do your best.
If you don't advocate for yourself, no one will.
Erickson showing off a little speed of his own there. We've talked about how fast these other guys are, but he's certainly able to catch up when he needs to. And
there's Grasso. He's physical and he reads things well. He might not be the fastest guy that's out there, but his IQ, his soccer IQ is so high that he sees things before anyone else does on the pitch.
Bjorgolfsson wants to challenge on that one. He said, okay, you guys are standing around a little too much for his liking.
Yeah, he'll be hungry. I mean, that's a big part of playing a press like Kentucky do, is, not allowing Marshall to get too comfortable on the ball.
And we talked about it earlier. Both of these teams are very comfortable in terms of trying to maintain possession.
Certainly, both teams are more comfortable when they have the ball than when they're not, and that's not the case for every team. I think it's something that sounds obvious, that you're more comfortable when you have it, but there are teams that are not and want the ball as far away from their own goal as possible. And both of these teams are quite happy to be composed and build and work through those patterns that they so consistently work on.
Maurice chasing that one down for Kentucky. Takes a shot. He has Bjorgolfsson, but it goes wide right.
That's Bjorgolfsson in a nutshell right there. Ball's played long to him. He's able to just send it out wide. And look at how hard he charges into the box and gets across Bamford here. Fantastic ball from Maurice.
So no goal on that one, but the Cats will get a corner kick. Into Maurice lining up to take this now.
And good hands in the end by Semle. Mamago, we've seen this all season, just how busy Kentucky can be on set pieces and what a hassle they cause.
Marshall with the first touch on that one. Bjorgolfsson and Rodriguez both look like they wanted to go up for that one. Neither one able to get a good shot at it.
I've used this word before in the booth about Bjorgolfsson, acrobatics.
He'll try again, another header by Bjorgolfsson. He's in the perfect spot for it. He's had that shot
Foi o que eu falei, esse camisa 9 de Kentucky é muito alto, muito bom no jogo aéreo, então toda a bola eles procuram ele. Até tentou dar uma bicicleta junto do Luca, uma cabeçada que deu o escanteio e agora essa. Então, a tática de Kentucky é muito isso, tentar abrir as pontas para tentar botar essa bola na área. E esse cara é um 9-9, né? Sabe cabecear, sabe jogar dentro da área.
We've talked a lot about the crowd we see here tonight at the Bell. You look at them there on the lawn. You even hear a little bit of a Marshall chant going on. I think the herd traveled tonight, Gavin.
They always do. And, that's one of the tricky parts about playing Marshall at home or away. They've always brought out a big crowd. It's an amazing community they have up there. And, a lot of good appreciation for some good soccer. Yeah, I can see lots of green shirts blending into the lawn over there. Just over a 2-hour drive.
Not bad for a Friday night, especially one as nice as this one. Perfect night for a little collegiate soccer action.
Yeah. Hey, and after Marshall's result in football last weekend, I'm sure they'll all be driving back tonight in preparation for tomorrow.
Yeah, this fan base is energized, if nothing else.
And when you've got teams, in your community at the kind of caliber that Kentucky and Marshall are at, you got to get out and support them.
And we've seen that even with these teams supporting other teams on campus. I was watching the Kentucky versus Louisville volleyball game the other night and noticed UK soccer team was in attendance at that one over at Memorial Coliseum on the other side of campus, passing out T-shirts to the fans.
Not only passing out T-shirts, but hurling them into the crowd. Thankfully, they're nice soft objects. And Kentucky, I can speak to this because I'm around Lexington, and I see it a lot. Kentucky athletics do an amazing job at supporting each other's programs, and that's such an important part of being a student athlete, is being part of something a little bit bigger than yourself and your team.
And anytime it's the Cards versus the Cats, that doesn't hurt either, right?
No, it makes it a little bit easier to get up out of bed on a Thursday afternoon after these players are resting after practice. That front three for Kentucky really really just waiting on that trigger. And they'll be patient. We talked about patience in possession. There's a deal of patience you have to have when you're out of possession of the ball and you're waiting on a small little pass like that to Mossy Yunus. Great call off by Grasso there, just telling Max Miller just to let it run to him. Fantastic ball out the screen.
Screen will take a shot himself, quickly fallen on by the keeper.
Such a dangerous ball from Screen. He puts it between that back four and the goalkeeper, and you see, I think it might have been Bamford who was sliding in there. And anything can happen when you put that ball into that danger zone.
And Screen is the exact kind of player you want to take a shot like that because he is so composed
and precise, and certainly precise. He used the set piece maestro here for Kentucky.
Set piece maestro, I like it.
That's how I used to refer to myself in college.
Really?
No one agreed with me.
We'll have to roll the tape on that another time.
Let me pick the tape. Mossy Yunus there, just doing a good job of finding himself a little bit of space.
He certainly has the experience to do so. Other than their keeper, he leads their team in minutes over the course of his career in Huntington. And the Cats with possession now, trying to take over, moving a little faster than the Herd. Reese with the shot. And this is certainly a rivalry that the college soccer world knows very well. You look at it there on your screen, notable matchups over the past couple of years. And these are three of them, but there's been so many. You think most recent UK home victory in the series, double overtime. Last time they played also went to a double overtime. The intensity of these matchups, very, very palpable. And you certainly saw it the last time these two teams played here in Lexington. Marshall won that one 1-0 back in March of 2021. Fernandez was the one with the lone goal for the Herd in that one. Denny Evans had a header that was actually called offside, disallowed. Johan Sedergren given a red card for his reaction to that.
Yeah, it was certainly a fiery reaction at the time. And I see we have 4 chairs down there at the moment, and we'll look down and see if we have 4 chairs toward the end of the game. But no, certainly these teams will know each other inside and out now over the last few years. And, you know, as tough as a game it is for both programs, this is certainly one I imagine they look forward to.
And Sedergren really does strike the average viewer, I think, as a very calm, cool, collected coach. Even from up here in the booth, you don't hear him very frequently. We're not too far away from that coach's box. Very steady. But he was not happy with that call last time out against the Herd here in Lexington. Makes a move towards the box, but it goes over the goal line. Casper Moles was ready for that one, but he'd have to be much, much taller to get his hands on that one.
Yeah, just a bit of a threat. That will keep Kentucky thinking. Yeah, Johan's a real gent of the game. Real gent, and done an amazing job at this program, and really helps, I think, shape and mold some of these freshmen that come in to be outstanding young men. Is that a "Let's Go Herd" chant I'm hearing?
I think you're right about that.
We might have underestimated the traveling crowd here.
Casper Grening with some footwork, shot at the goalkeeper, loses his hands on it. but pushes it away.
Yeah, tidy passage of play from Kentucky. Really tidy passage of play, and we see that's what they do. That's what they do best. Short, sharp, and find these little half openings to get shots away. And Bjorgårdsson might be kicking himself that he wasn't standing there smiling at the goalkeeper and slotting it past him.
Defesaça do goleiro de Marshall, também alemão. Tá pau a pau esse jogo de estrangeiros, né? Alemão e brasileiro. Alemão na Marshall tem o Milo Joseph, também o atacante, o goleiro o Oliver Samuel. E, se eu não me engano, o ataque inteiro de Kentucky é alemão também. O número 9, o número 10 e o número 7. Então, bastante alemão em campo. Marshall tomando uma certa pressão por estar jogando fora de casa, tentando sair, às vezes encontrando as pontas, mas pelo menos por enquanto o Kentucky está mais perigoso na partida. Esse camisa 6 também joga muito bem, não sei se ele estava contundido, enfim.
Played in every game so far this year, a really good contributor, solid, typically off the bench.
Yeah, what a man to be able to bring on there in that midfield when you've got two players in Erickson and Holstad who start the game off so well and so strong, to bring Sarita in there who really raises the level.
That was a foul on Kentucky's Casper Grening.
And we see Okiyoshi just drift onto the screen there in the middle of the park. Just trying to find that space between a Kentucky midfield and Kentucky back four. He will look to turn on and drive at that Kentucky defense and draw Grasso, Miller, Screen, and Rodriguez out from their position and try and create a little bit of space there for Bell to get in behind.
Ogiyashi's soccer journey is certainly an interesting one. This is his first season with the Herd, but not too long ago, he won the National Junior College national title last season, voted an All-American, playing for Salt Lake Community College from 2020 to 2022. Originally from Japan, so now if you're keeping track at home, he's lived in Japan. He's lived in Salt Lake City, Utah. Now he lives in Huntington, West Virginia. He's seen it all, has he not?
Yeah, a real journeyman of the game. And that's the beauty of a game like soccer, it's global. It takes people all over the world.
Max Miller thought he had an open opportunity there, but it's intercepted by Marshall. And Max is certainly not a player to ever be afraid of taking a chance like that.
No, and I think you've got to be brave, as a freshman coming in.
Boa, Marcos me corrigiu com a informação mais precisa. Eu tinha certeza que o 7 era alemão, que é o Nick Gutman, que jogou a USL2 no mesmo time do Luca, mas então o 9 é da Noruega e o 10 da Dinamarca. Então, time bastante europeu.
And of course, Max Miller from right here in Lexington. I'm sure he has some friends and family in the crowd tonight.
I'm sure the game will take Max far afield from Lexington. Of course, he spent time at FC Cincinnati in their academy, and they will be monitoring, I'm sure, throughout his journey at Kentucky.
Kentucky will line up for a corner kick here.
See Robert Screen hanging out on the edge of the box. I won't be surprised if at some point we see a ball floated out to him for a volley.
That's dangerous. And so Marie is lining up for the Wildcats. Ball isn't played close to the goal. Erickson against Matthew Bell.
Holmes happy to just watch that roll out.
So Kentucky now with 2 corner kicks on the evening. Marshall has not had one yet, but I have a feeling they're probably coming. The Herd is 13th in the country currently in corner kicks per game, 39 total on the year. Don't worry, we're not going to make you do the math at home. That averages out to 7.8 per game compared to Kentucky, 27 total, 5.4 on average per game.
I'm sure.
So we're beating the odds right now.
I'm sure glad you're here, Maggie.
doing the math for us
Yeah.
both. Erickson wins that one.
I see Bjorgsen just chasing down Semele. I talked earlier, Maggie, about some of those triggers. You know, those loose balls in the air, misplaced passes. Those are going to be the trigger to those top 3 players, those front 3 for Kentucky, to go on that Rambo mission.
And we have an altercation on the field. Referee is going to chat things out. Look to be between Luca Rodriguez and number 10, Fernandez for the Herd. We'll take another look here, see what happened.
You run a risk anytime you put your hand on somebody else's face out there in the pitch. But I think the referee's made a good decision there. He will know the history of this game, and he knows to expect a lively performance from both teams. I think he's done the right thing there and not brandishing a card and just saying, hey, let's just take a breath and not do anything silly. Don't ruin this game for yourselves. He knows these guys are 21, 22 years old. Tempers will flare.
Absolutely. Quick correction, that was not Fernandez, that was Iomash for the Herd on that one, number 33, with Rodriguez for Kentucky. But like you said, no harm, no foul.
It looked like Rodriguez thought about going down a little bit easy.
Neither team wants to lose either of those players in this match.
No.
Danny Evans in now for the Wildcats. 5th-year senior out of Texas. He's the one, remember, who had that header disallowed in the 2021 loss to Marshall here on this very pitch. So this game, like we've talked about, is important for everyone out there. But you have to think he feels a certain type of way about it. Matthew Bell, loose on the open field with a pass to his teammate. One-on-one was the keeper. Casper Moles is able to break that one up and give Kentucky some time to respond.
Fantastic from Moles, but Grosso will not want to see this again. Just got his feet wrong, and no one's catching.
Kentucky tava com a bola, perdeu, deu mole ali, o camisa 4, e esse ponta de Marshall é muito rápido. Ele tem feito bastante gol nessa temporada também. Acabou que o Luca ficou no 2 contra 1, teve que escolher, na hora que ele foi sair, tomou a bola por trás, mas o goleiro estava adiantado e conseguiu abafar bem. Então Marshall tá contando com isso. Roubar uma bola, sair rápido pelas pontas, e quase deu certo.
As if he didn't already have any. They're being currently tied for first place in the country nationally with total goals this year. One of 7 guys who's already scored 6 times this season. So he has the stats to back it up.
Yeah, but you know, you always want to be getting chances and creating chances as a striker, and you don't know when the next one's going to come. Yeah, Sousa won't get away with that.
That's Gutman for Kentucky.
There's the first one the referee will consider in both of those challenges, I'm sure. And you just can't show your studs. You know, it's people will say that you can't do it anymore. You probably should never have been allowed to show your studs in the game.
So that will be a yellow card on Marshall's Joao Sousa. First one here tonight. Max Miller, you can tell he really thinks that he has an opening in situations like that, and he does, but when it gets down there, it's just a little too predictable.
Yeah, it can be a little.
Sneak that one in.
Yeah, you know, I think anytime you're trying to really send in a threatening cross, it can't be so telegraphed. The other team can't know what's going on.
Down to Matthew Bell once again.
Referee saying he just used his hand, and I think I'll agree with him.
We'll take a closer look at that one.
Fantastic ball from Sousa. I don't think Bell knew much about it. Just came off the bottom of his elbow. But ultimately, it was the use of the hand that led to a better position for himself, so the referee's got to call it. Here's Miller again, a little bit of space for himself. Erickson just trying to be cute.
34 minutes into this one. Still scoreless here at the bell. But a lot of action, believe it or not.
Plenty of chances for Kentucky early on. 2 headers from Bjorgafsson. I think he'd be disappointed not to have converted one of them, and the opportunity for Grening as well. He's gone for power, and really all he needed to do was slot it past Sam Leg.
Rodriguez wins that one. Cat's looking for a call out there. He won't get one this time.
Marshall looking for their own opportunity there. Look at the athleticism from Matthew Bell here. Just when he goes down so low to the ground, he manages to keep his feet underneath him and stay in control of the ball. That's remarkable. Disappointed with the referee's decision there.
He does not seem like a true freshman.
No, he's sort of his IQ is far above and beyond where you'd expect your usual freshman, but he's not your usual player.
And if you're Kentucky, of course, you have to try and limit the possessions he sees. You want to keep the ball away from a player like that as much as possible. And if he does get it, you absolutely cannot leave him one-on-one. We've already seen it here tonight. He can beat you in a foot race.
He can certainly beat me in a foot race.
I didn't mean that as a personal attack at him. Sorry it came off like that. He can beat the average person in a foot race, I think is safe to say.
Yeah, and you're dead right now. You'll notice anytime he's on the ball, there's 2, 3, sometimes 4 Kentucky players around him.
That's Erickson. Just a little collision there between Erickson and Yusuf.
He's late and he's high. He's not very high in that tackle, but he's too high for the referees like.
That'll be a yellow card on Yusuf for that one. So now Marshall's second of the evening. And Erickson is up. He's still out there. Got up a little gingerly at first, but seems to be getting his confidence back on.
It would take more than that to put Erickson down.
Absolutely. Danny Evans downfield. He has Nick Gutman.
It's a great idea. It's a great idea. Just trying to find that ball in over Alves's head for Gutman. I think Gutman might consider starting his run out a little bit wider rather than being so compact. We see that Kentucky all season have had so much success from being patient and holding that shape that has such natural width, so that players like Gutman and Grening and Danny can run onto those balls and be running toward the goal. Kentucky players not in agreement with the referee.
Not happy on that one.
he probably knew he wasn't going to make a lot of friends coming in.
There's a foul on Kentucky's Enzo Maurice. And so Ryder will take back over.
Kentucky doing everything they can just to squeeze in between that really compact Marshall back four.
Marshall's defense will force you to try and squeeze in between. No other options out there, right? A couple of substitutions checking in now for the Wildcats. That'll be number 27, Ben Damgey, as well as 19, Brennan Creek. Aitor Björgolfsson coming out now that we are 38 minutes into this one. Maybe rest his legs just a bit before the end of this half. And if you look at your screen right there, you really see two of the major elements of tonight's game. Sunbelt Players of the Week, Björgolfsson on offense, Ryan Holmes on defense. And how impressive is it to have them playing against each other?
Yeah, it's a real battle. And, you know, with Holmes sitting there just in front of the back four, they're going to see a lot of each other tonight.
And when Björgolfsson was announced as the Sunbelt's Offensive Player of the Week, Johan Sedergren put out, or the team in general, I guess should say, put out a press release about it with Sedergren's comment. Very telling, I thought. Rodriguez trying to keep the Cats out of trouble there. Danny Evans, one-on-one with the keeper, takes a shot. That'll be high right over the post. You like the idea, though?
Yeah, I think Marshall are looking at the referee yet again. They will have expected a foul for them, but look at that touch from Danny Evans from that ball from Rodriguez over the top.
Beautiful pass.
He's put it on a diamond. Not many players in the world can take a touch like Danny Evans just did, and he'll be disappointed not to have done a little bit more there for the finish. Again, a bit like Bell getting some of those early opportunities in front of goal. That will keep Danny Evans going here.
Marshall likes the idea. They're bringing out Milo Yosef now. Part of a substitution. To go back to our Björgolfsson conversation, listen to what Johan Sedergren had to say about his Offensive Player of the Week. He said, if other teams double up on him, our other attackers get chances. But if you leave him one-on-one, he's going to score goals, right? I mean, you have a player like that on your team. You only give the defense so many options.
Yeah, it's not easy if you're in trouble if you do, and you're in trouble if you don't.
Exactly.
And he's got a lot of good players up and around him who feed off him, and they wait for some of those moments.
And we talked about Ryan Holmes as the Sunbelt's Defensive Player of the Week, and a little bit of a Kentucky connection for him. You know, those are always fun in these types of environments. Holmes' dad, Timothy, played under Bill Curry here as a member of the UK football team from 1994 to 95 as a running back and a defensive back. That's kind of crazy. And even won UK's Outstanding Offensive Scout Team Player Award in 1994. So if I had to guess, he's probably wearing green tonight. But he played 2 seasons up for the Wildcats. He might bleed blue deep down.
Yeah, you know, he might hang around for a game tomorrow.
Enzo Maurice thought he put that one in.
Rodriguez again, just being fantastic and trying to thread those balls through. Max Miller down the left-hand side. Looks like it just deflected off Ben Damgey. We'll get a better view of it here. Just off the knee of Damgey. Sometimes that ball's coming so quick you don't have time to react.
Just barely nicked him, but just graze someone like that can totally alter the trajectory, and that's exactly what we just saw there.
But again, it's another moment that Kentucky are knocking on that Marshall door.
And as we get closer and closer to halftime, you have to start thinking about what these teams' messages will be during the break, especially from the head coaches to the guys they expect to finish out the game for them.
You know,
I think for Kentucky, they've left so many chances out there.
Yeah, that will be the big thing, is that they've got to convert. They've got to convert chances. And I think for Marshall, something will have to change. They failed to really get Bell into the game. For the most part, Grayson Rodriguez have had him in the back pocket. But of course, at any moment he can be dangerous. He's the kind of guy that can do nothing all game and score a couple of goals inside of 5 or 10 minutes.
And especially now with no overtime rules, all the more dangerous, especially in this matchup that has gone to overtime several times in the past.
But for Kentucky, I think it'll be more of the same in trying to avoid the moments that we just saw there from Danny Evans that, get you out of joint and make you look uncertain about what you're doing as a team. Chris Grassi once again disappointed with the referee.
Danny Evans goes up for that one up against Colin Masiunas.
Some tidy feet from screen. Yeah, Mike, I think it's some of those moments when Kentucky are on the edge of the box and they're looking for Bjorgårdsson. I think those are moments where it might just be worth going testing Semle with all those bodies in front of him rather than trying to find something cute and clever into Bjorgårdsson's head. You mentioned it that Marshall are very concerned about Bjorgårdsson by the looks of things, and they've just got to be able to capitalize on it in whatever way they can. And sometimes that's just about getting a shot away.
Less than a minute here. They'll try to do just that. Marshall looking for a call on this one.
Yeah, Rodriguez just got a bit more of the man than the ball. I'm probably lucky not to find himself a yellow card, I think, for that.
Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And that'll do it for the first half here at the Wendell and Vicki Bell Soccer Complex. Kentucky, Marshall, 0-0 scoreless after 45 minutes of action. Gavin, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think both teams will be a little bit cagey going into halftime here. We'll have things they're going to want to change. I think Kentucky, we will see more or less the same looking Kentucky, just hopefully a bit more conversions. And on the Marshall side of things, I think they're really going to talk about how they can get beyond this Kentucky back four, causing some trouble, facing down in their own defensive.
Fim de primeiro tempo, Kentucky controlando um pouco mais, mas Marshall teve aquela chance clara na roubada de bola. Legal mostrar até a torcida. Tem torcida de Marshall que viajou para acompanhar. A torcida de Marshall costuma ser bem presente nos jogos fora de casa também. Agora, no intervalo, eu vou deixar rodando por aqui, só vou tirar o áudio para não ter nenhum problema. Vou sair aqui para pegar uma comida rapidinho e volto. Quando voltar melhores momentos, tudo, eu solto o áudio de novo. Então,
look at the list of teams now in the conference. How fun is it that even when you change conferences, even when you go from Conference USA to the Sun Belt, you get to keep so many of these rivalries. You see one here tonight in action. We've got a couple more coming up on Kentucky's schedule and Marshall's schedule throughout the rest of the season. Again, this is just game one of conference play for these teams, but a lot of good soccer to look forward to.
Yeah, it's like when you graduate college, move to a new city, and there are still some of those same old faces that are going to be there and working their own jobs and in a new place doing a new thing.
I love that analogy. Still adding everybody on LinkedIn, making those connections. That's exactly what Kentucky's doing. And if you want to talk about good soccer, we have plenty across the board tonight. Only other ranked game or a game where both teams are ranked, I should say, going on right now is number 1 Clemson and 16 Syracuse. But Syracuse looking to pull off an upset, Gavin, 2-1 now in the second half.
Yeah, certainly. I'm looking at all these scores here. Going into the second half, those are potentially some huge upsets early on the season.
Estão mostrando os outros jogos que estão acontecendo agora. E Clemson, que é a atual número 1, está perdendo. Duke empatado com North Carolina, 2 times bons. E Virginia Tech do Wellington Júnior, o zagueiro, empatando com Wake Forest. Só jogão tendo hoje. Pitt estava jogando também, mas não sei como que tá o placar por lá.
points, none so far for the Herd. And hey, let's talk about this crowd tonight, Gavin. I mean, there are a lot of people here for a little Friday night collegiate soccer action and more members of the Herd than we expected.
Yeah, you only see this amount of green in Lexington on St. Patrick's Day. It's great to see. I mean, to see college soccer with a crowd like this on the opening game of the Sun Belt Conference is tremendous. Great to be a part of it.
And everybody, of course, rocking with a little Grove Street party tonight. That's the anthem for Big Blue Nation, certainly. But everybody can enjoy a little Waka Flocka if you get into it. Obviously, the UK football team has sort of made it their song. And I love when you see that bleed over onto the other sports on campus.
Yeah, absolutely. As we talked about earlier, all these programs do an amazing job at supporting each other here at Kentucky. And, it's one big family.
We have 45 more minutes to go here at the bell. Number 6, Kentucky. Number 7, Marshall. What do you think is changing for these teams in the second half? What adjustments are each team focusing on?
I think for Marshall, it's going to be trying to get on the other side of that Kentucky midfield. And I expect we're going to see Bell and Okiyoshi look for that sort of pocket that's between the Kentucky
Começando o segundo tempo, e
there,
lembrando, para quem não conhece muito a regra de college, que os jogadores que tinham saído no primeiro tempo, eles podem voltar. Então, camisa 10, camisa 9 de Kentucky estão retornando o segundo tempo como titulares nessa etapa. Marshall, pelo que eu observei, não vi muitas alterações. O João tinha entrado no primeiro tempo. Acho que não voltou no segundo, mas pode também entrar de novo no segundo tempo. Então, vamos acompanhar, ver como que vai se desenrolar. E lembrando também que os comentaristas falaram algumas vezes durante a transmissão, aquela regra do college que se empatasse ia para o overtime, não tem mais. Então, se acabarem os 90 minutos empatado, é empate. Não tem mais aquela prorrogação, gol de ouro, enfim, só nos jogos mata-mata agora.
In that Tulsa game, the performance from Robert Screen and from Max Miller, just maybe a bit happy or cautious to sit back and be in that back four when really I think they're at their best when they're released and they're springing forward into some of that space and causing that overload and helping out Grening and Gutman and Evans when he's playing. And it just causes nightmares for defenses.
And now that we are here in the back 45 minutes of action, and it is worth noting that so far this year, Marshall has put up 53 shots in the first, only 42 in the second. So a little bit more active in the first 45 minutes for them, whereas the Wildcats have been more active after halftime. 37 shots in first halves, 44 shots in second halves. But these teams are... Matthew Bell trying to sneak one in, and he does. Finds the back of the net. Early on in the half, Gavin, that's what we were talking about. They want to come out aggressive, and now Marshall they're on the board first, 1-0.
Yeah, you look at that combination, and it all starts with Alves. He's like a steam train running up that left-hand side, and he connects with Ayamashi. And Matthew Bell doing what Matthew Bell does best. Right place, right time, and he just reads and times his run and gets in front of the freshman Max Miller.
Here's the reaction from Marshall's head coach. Yes! We did it. We are on the board.
Hey, we said it. We can expect a lively burst here from Marshall, and there it is.
His 7th goal of the season, tied for first in the country for goals already this year.
He scores spectacular goals, and he scores goals like that where he just walks the ball into the net.
And he's certainly a player who's not sort of overwhelmed by the magnitude of this matchup. He had 2 goals early on in the first half against number 2 Pitt. So he knows what a top 10 matchup feels like. He's done it before, and now you see he's starting to do it again tonight. 1 goal on the board for him.
Yeah, Matthew Bell's one of those guys where the brighter the lights, the brighter he shines. And an early goal here will completely unlock the organization at both of these teams. Will have to now reconfigure and rethink.
It's interesting you say that because both teams did come across as very organized in the first half.
And you always come into a half with a bit of a game plan, And it's me scoring an early goal. Of course, it's great. It's always good to get goals on board, but there's always the worry you're going to sit back.
And there is a foul out there. Now this one looks like it'll be on Milo Yosef for the Herd.
Just not able to slow himself down in time.
We talked about how Bjorgelsen is currently the Sun Belt's Offensive Player of the Week. Yosef has been that already so far this season. So when you're kicking off conference play with all these threats on the field, best of the best in the conference, you're going to get looks like this.
You have to imagine Matthew Bell looked at that during the week and said, that's mine. Alves just a real force up that left-hand side.
And for Marshall at this point, Gavin, do you expect pedal to the metal, put another one there, try to put this one out of reach? Or are they just trying to hold on to that ball for as long as possible?
You know,
use the time.
And that's what makes it tricky, I think, about planning for a half and scoring, 2 minutes into it. That you did all that, you sat around for 15 minutes, screamed and yelled at each other, came up with a plan, and it's taken care of really quickly. You've got to sort of reconfigure a few things. I expect they will keep things mostly the same and keep the pressure on Kentucky.
We've seen that out of Marshall already this year. Last game for them, 7-1 win against Pacific. So they were up the majority of that game. Never took their foot off the gas.
No, won those games. And, to be fair, speaking to Chris Grassi during the week, wasn't happy with his team at halftime, despite having scored 4 goals and being 4-1 up at halftime. It might seem strange for a coach to say he's not happy with his team in those moments, but he knew that he could get more out of them, and he never wants them to sort of rest on their success. He wants to constantly be pushing each other to do more and to be better. And I have to imagine that's going to be the reaction here out of them as well.
And that's how you get to be a top 10 team. I think talking with both coaches leading up into tonight's matchup, I remember we talked to them both. You finished the non-conference part of your schedule heading into conference play. Are you where you thought you would be? Are you ahead of schedule? Do you think you're a little behind? And these teams have both felt great success already this year, and yet they both head coaches wanted to emphasize, we can do better. We can do more. We're not where we want to be yet. And when you are a top 10 team in the country with that kind of attitude, that makes you dangerous.
Yeah, certainly. And I think whatever about some of those more luxury games that you play in the lead up to conference play, where you don't necessarily want it, you don't need to go out and beat teams 7 and 8-0. You don't need to expend yourself. It's going to be a long season with lots of games and, lots of running to be done. You don't want to sort of overwork your players so much. But in a game like tonight, you can't afford to take your foot off the gas for a second.
Milo Yosef is certainly not a player who will do that.
No. Not in those bright yellow boots.
Gutman one-on-one. Footwork to screen, takes a shot. But it slides out of bounds.
Tava esperando o jogo parar um pouco, mas gol da Marshall lembrou muito o que eles faziam na temporada que eles foram campeões nacionais. Jogada de um lado, chegando à linha de fundo, jogando para trás e o ponta do lado oposto fechando. Então, um gol bem trabalhado. E depois do gol acabou que a Marshall não recuou, continuou pressionando. E agora foi a primeira chance mais clara de Kentucky, mas o cara acabou chutando errado. Não sei se ele queria cruzar para o número 9, mas enfim. 1-0 Marshall, mas é aquilo, jogo aberto. Boa jogada do Gabriel.
Rodriguez looking to slow down the Herd on this one. Casper Moles will keep that one in play.
And you just look at that Kentucky reaction there. Erickson and Gutman around the ball when they're beaten. Those first 2-3 seconds are just so important to get yourself back ball side and go and be effective and get yourself back in a position where you can be of use to your team. And all of them sort of looking at each other, deciding who's going to go.
And that's something this team can only get better and better at as the season goes on, that anticipation from the team. And they have the momentum. Nick Gutman with the shot, and it goes in. He finds the back of the net for the Wildcats with a slide to the corner. His teammates will find him there because we are all tied up in Lexington. One apiece for the Cats and the Hurricane.
Yeah, great, brilliant patient in possession, and it looks like it actually just took a deflection, perhaps off Bamford. Yeah, fantastic for Gutman.
Fantastic.
O alemão que eu falei jogou no nona com o Luca. Uma jogada que a Marshall deu uma certa desconcentrada na linha de defesa. O Gabriel acabou ficando em um certo 2 contra 1. Teve que dar um passo para frente e acabou abrindo a lateral. Então, tomou uma bola do lado dele, mas não necessariamente a culpa foi dele. Deixaram ele com 2. Ele teve que tomar a decisão de sair no cara da bola para pressionar. E acabou sobrando um espaço nas costas. O pessoal levantou a mão reclamando de impedimento. Eu até achei que o número 9 tinha encostado, mas ele chutou direto. Então acredito que não teve impedimento. 1-1 é aquilo que eu falei. Jogo muito aberto, o ataque das duas equipes é muito forte. Então acho difícil essa partida acabar 1-1 também. As duas equipes atacam, então também dão espaço lá atrás. E nesse espaço, a jogada começou na esquerda, girou toda, Marshall não acompanhou esse balanço e acabaram deixando o Gabriel em 2 contra 1. E foi fatal. Então 1-1, vamos ver como que vai continuar.
Young boys, young girls, players can come out and see these players at a top level, be as good as they are, and I think it's a wonderful example to keep players in and around the game. Lots of great options for people to play lots of different sports around somewhere like Lexington, Marshall. Maybe I'm biased, but I think they should be all playing soccer.
Nothing wrong with that. And in the crowd tonight, we do have some special guests, some MVPs, if you will. It's UK Soccer Alumni Weekend, so about 30 former Wildcats were scheduled to be at the Bell tonight for both the men's and the women's programs over the years. So we have a doubleheader here tonight. The women's team fell to Ole Miss a little bit earlier. But back-to-back games can't beat it, especially if you're a UK alum.
Yeah, it's always a great occasion to come back and see some of those players. You know, having played at Northern Kentucky University, it's been great to join the sort of the growing older network of players that have come before me, and to be able to share stories and be part of that legacy. And lots of great alumni here. I know Josh Mulvaney is in the crowd here tonight, who had a wonderful tenure at UK and played professionally over in Finland and spent a good deal of time playing at Southampton with Gareth Bale and Theo Walcott and Adam Lallana and some of these fantastic players that are still playing today. So, Kentucky for a long time has been a breeding ground for amazing soccer players. And they're all back here tonight.
A lot of them are back here tonight. Some of them actually are playing professionally, so they couldn't be here. One of which that comes to mind, Ame Mabika here from 2016 to 2020, now down in Miami, playing for Miami CF. We have to start this week. They got a win. We couldn't be here trying to get business taken care of down in Miami.
Yeah.
Kentucky trying to put some pressure on that one.
Yeah, if Ame's not careful, he'll really make a name for himself in that league.
We certainly did that here in Lexington. A Lexington native came to the University of Kentucky. Key member of this team, just like Jorgelson. We tried to swing around on that one. Kentucky, you wanted to see aggression out of the Cats. That's certainly what you're getting right now. Looked like Gutman was trying to go up for that one again.
Kentucky happy to continue to put pressure on Marshall. We talked about how Marshall were going to react to scoring a goal, and Kentucky have only continued to go.
And And I think that's what makes this matchup special, Gavin. Neither team necessarily wants to be the one who's reacting in this one. They're both proactive programs.
Yeah, 100%. You know, as a coach and as the team, you always want to be mostly worried about yourself and not doing too much thinking about the other team. Or at least never admit to it.
Can't tell people like us, at least.
That's a lot of action for the last 12 minutes.
Absolutely. 57 minutes into this one, and I'm exhausted.
I'm catching my breath.
Imagine if we were down there.
I'm already on my second bottle of water over here.
So 57 minutes in, we're tied up at 1. Run through the stats here. Kentucky, 4 shots on goal tonight. Of course, connected on one of them. 2 shots on goal for the Herd.
Nice patient play by Marshall. Happy he takes his thing out of it and just enjoy the ball. We talked about cherishing this thing. You know, this is the most important thing on the field, and
take care of it. When you were in middle school, do you ever have to take care of a little egg? Couldn't drop the egg for a week.
For a week, I barely made it to the other end of the race line during the egg and spoon race. A whole week.
A whole week, but you don't have to put it on a spoon. You just can't crack it.
Not a tradition. Not a tradition I'm familiar with.
Just imagine the soccer ball as the egg, okay? I'm trying to take care of it here. No cracks. Little crowd action here tonight at the Bell. Lively fan base, lively match. And that's a lively player right there, ringing the bell. Nothing wrong with a little pun. Matthew Bell, 7 goals already this season. Of course, 1 here tonight. He's been the Sun Belt Offensive Player of the Week in the past. And based on what we've seen out of him tonight, sure seems like he's vying for another one.
Yeah, the bell ringing the bell at the Bell.
A lot of bells.
I think we're out of wedding season at this point, are we?
I don't know. What is wedding season? The summer?
I feel like I do nothing but go to weddings during the summer.
Well, we've passed Labor Day. So I think that's a good sign, if nothing else.
Isn't that the rule? That's a rule. You're not supposed to wear white after Labor Day?
That is technically a rule. It's not necessarily one I follow. White pants. You can wear white shirts. I'm in the clear.
I'm still getting used to some traditions.
That's okay. And for Marshall, that's number 25, Morris Dugan, a freshman. Played in every game so far for the Herd. Walking by himself, of course, but joined by a trainer. Heading to the sideline to get checked out. If we get an update on him, we will keep you posted.
Interesting to see what will happen now, just as
Aproveitar que o jogo ficou parado
thing
um
has been
tempo,
taken out of
soltei
the
uma
game a little
enquete.
bit.
Quem que vocês acham que vai marcar o
We've
próximo
talked so
gol?
much about
Como eu falei,
how
logo
these
depois
teams
do
are
gol da
reacting
Marshall, o
to
Marshall
him,
ainda
of course.
continuou
Coming
pressionando
off two
bem,
totally
teve
different
outra
matches.
chance com o Milo
Last
Joseph
game
que não
out for
aproveitou.
Kentucky, a little bit
E agora,
sluggish,
depois do
ended
gol
in
de
a draw. Last
Kentucky,
game out for Marshall,
também
7
continuou um
goals.
pouco mais em
And
cima.
then tonight with the
Vamos
sort of
ver
back
como
and
vão
forth
ser
we've
aí,
seen,
faltando
they've had to
30
respond in all
minutos
sorts of
praticamente
ways.
ainda de jogo. Ainda tem muita
Felt
coisa
like they
para
were moving so
acontecer.
fast. There was such a momentum, and of course, like you said, just takes the sting out of it a little bit with a pause like that. But Kentucky wants to waste no time
Now back in action.
being aggressive once again.
You see Kentucky, those front 3 players coupled with Maurice, ready for those triggers we talked about.
Gutman tries to track that one down. Hurled himself out of bounds.
That's what it takes at this level. If you're not putting your body on the line, what are you doing?
Jurgensen with the heel kick to Gutman. Looks like they're trying to set up a play here. Louise goes out. And Max Miller unable to get that one off in the direction he liked.
But made a really important run. Really important run up that left-hand side, recognized where the space was and gives another option. See Miller just getting into a disagreement with a Marshall player. He'll learn as he goes along just to ignore all the chat that happens and play his game.
Robert Green certainly does that for the Wildcats as he lines up to take Kentucky's third corner kick of the night. Jurgensen and Bell one-on-one. Take two, Robert Green.
Mosiuna certainly felt that one. A lot of heat on that ball.
Green with the corner. Keeper's out.
Nice idea by Screen.
Way downfield.
And what about this yellow jersey for
What
Casper
about
Moles? You won't miss him. And there's Grosso, just so composed on both sides of the ball defensively. Rarely see him go to ground, and then when he's on the ball, just happy to be comfortable and tidy. A real Rolls Royce.
We talked about how Ryan Holmes for Marshall is the Sun Belt's Defensive Player of the Week, but it was Grosso who was voted the preseason Sun Belt Defensive Player of the Year. A lot of expectations when you're given a title like that in the preseason. Jurgensen got the same on offense. Do you think that impacts anything for these guys?
You know, I think it goes one or two ways. I think for some players, it's the added pressure can be too much, and you don't get to focus on your game as much. But I think for someone like Grosso, he's got the kind of shoulders that can carry that weight.
When Morris Dugan went out for Marshall, Mohamed Sedu came in. 24 on your screen. Marshall with another chance. Moles catches it. Two hands on that one. Gave the Herd two chances, neither of which were successful. Clean hands for Casper Moles there.
And that is Casper Moles at his best. He doesn't see much of this before it hits him. Had to get back up on his feet and get that ball cleaned up. All credit to him, and his goalkeeper coach Josh Aldroyd will be absolutely thrilled with him. That's a huge play by the freshman.
In just his third game, he's played back-to-back Belmont and Louisville so far this season. I think Johan Settergren maybe still trying to play with his options there. We've also seen Isaac Walker so far this season. But Casper Moles certainly performing on that one.
Certainly playing his way in there. Fernandez just showing a foot and a half there, not quite 2 feet.
Quase gol do Vinícius, o goleiro fez uma defesaça na primeira e na segunda pareceu que ele tentou dar uma cavada porque estava muito próximo e acabou não pegando muito bem. E agora, preocupação para Marshall porque o atacante, o artilheiro, está com 7 gols na temporada. Parece que sentiu e o rapaz ali está falando para substituir.
Yeah, you can see Amashi down there talking to,
é uma perda, ainda mais
coach,
porque ele puxa muito contra-ataque ali pela direita, né? Então, problema.
And if I'm correct, it looks like Josef might be ready to come back in.
So Bell, the freshman with Marshall's goal for the night, making his way to the sidelines now. Hopefully nothing too serious. Of course, you'd love to see him back out there this evening because he is an absolute game changer for the Herd.
Yeah, no one want to see him out there more than his coach.
Substitution Marshall, second in for 17 handicap, the 70-mile race.
And you're right, Milo, Yosef does check back in his place. And it's Yosef trying to track this one down. And a yellow card is being issued.
Yeah, Holstad, we'll see here just how much he knew about what he was doing. Yeah. Anytime you're going to stop somebody on a counter-attack like that, you're always running the risk of picking up a yellow card.
Yosef with the quick little stop, drop, and roll on the ground. As soon as he popped up, you could see, hello. Did you guys see what he did?
Yeah, I think he knows what he's doing. Again, I talked about it during the women's game. Sometimes, when you receive contact, especially in such a high-pace, fast-paced game, you've got to let the referee know.
So that will be a yellow card on Holstad for unsportsmanlike conduct on that one. And the Herd will get a good opportunity here. Not the placement they were looking for.
No, just well watched. Good awareness by Grasso and Rodriguez just to let that one float out of play.
Moles gets set. Put the ball back in play. Gives time to his team to get set up again. And we've certainly lost a little bit of the rhythm we were seeing early in this half. Of course, we saw both goals within the first few minutes of play. And now as we get later and later into this match, both teams a little bit more desperate.
Yeah, I think
to
so.
Get something going.
Yeah, at some point you gotta come out your shell and try something new. I think both teams have caught each other on the break early for Marshall, then early in the first half for UK, and eventually it becomes a little bit of a stalemate. Both teams fantastic defensively, both teams good going forward. They figure each other out as they go throughout the game, and it sometimes takes somebody to do something outrageous, something creative. Both teams are players that can do just that.
And talking with the Marshall head coach this week, that'd be Chris Grossi, I thought it was so interesting what he had to say about his and his team's excitement about actually getting to play here in Lexington at the Bell, and just the difference for them between the surface they're playing on at Marshall and then the surface they're seeing here tonight, turf versus grass, and the sort of impact he was expecting that to have on the game. Almost looking at it as like a reward, a little extra, right?
Yeah, it's a game that is always meant to be played on grass. It's amazing what the advancements in turf fields has been able to do for the game, and it means that players and teams can play for longer into the year in certain parts of the world, and certainly certain parts of the Midwest and the South here. But the beauty of the grass, the smell of the grass, the feel and the pace you get off the ball, it's always been a quicker game on grass as opposed to playing on turf. And yeah, it's there's something magical about a field like this, and big props to the UK grounds crew keep this place in immaculate shape. Even this halfway through the season, there's barely a blade out of place.
It's interesting what you say about the feel of the game being so different. What is it that makes it feel different?
I think some of it is that pace. That the ball moves around quicker. It's a bit slicker. And then the other piece is, you slide differently, and the ball moves a little bit differently underfoot than it does on turf, in what I would say is a more natural way.
Well, if you want to talk about sliding, we've certainly seen our fair share of that tonight. 13 fouls on the Wildcats, 9 for the Herd. Joseph looking to take advantage of a mismatch down low.
And you'll see there Max Miller making a mistake, just misreading that ball over his head. Grosso doing enough just to slow him down after Max has missed it, but look how hard Miller works to get back and get a toe in. Did just enough to put Joseph off. A squeaky moment for Kentucky, as I'd say.
And we talked so much in the first half about those little moments making such a big difference on both sides, with opportunities, chances that were left out there. Fewer so far in this half, but it comes down to those little moments like we've talked about.
Yeah, we saw with Kentucky. Kentucky would have fancied themselves to be 3 goals up at halftime.
Screen was frustrated with that one. Big Blue Nation was as well.
Screen maybe looking for a card here on Amashi. Not happy with an elbow into the back of his neck.
If he's looking for a card, it looks like he's going to get one.
Yeah.
That's the 4th yellow card on Marshall this evening. None so far on the Wildcats. And no red cards either, let the record reflect. That's not always been the case in this matchup.
And with 22 minutes left here, all chairs on the field are intact.
Everybody knock on wood.
Dangerous territory here for Kentucky. Maurice and screen over the ball. I think we can suspect screen just to drop this on the top of the 6-yard box.
Student section. Hungry to celebrate here. We'll see what the Cats have in store for them. And it's Maurice DeGrasso back to screen, but it's intercepted by Marshall. Max Miller keeps it in play for the Wildcats.
And that's one we've seen from Kentucky before. And it looked like maybe Marshall had as well. I think when you get into an area like that outside the box, and you've got guys like Bjorkson, like Grosso, like Rodriguez, who've proven that they're just fantastic in the air, why not get it in there? Why get cute? Why get clever?
You saw Bjorkson have those 2 great opportunities to do just that early in the first half. I'm surprised we haven't seen another moment like that from him so far.
Well timed by Grosso.
Good move by Grosso there. This time it's Danny Evans and Fernandez tangled up on the pitch.
Fernandez with his shin pad showing. The Jack Grealish look, as it's known. Manchester City player.
Let's check in now with the keeper for Marshall. 4-1 this season. Only allowed 5 goals so far this year. He's been the defensive player of the week. And he's been very good against the Cats historically. Tonight was actually his first career goal he's ever allowed Kentucky to score under his watch. Very consistent player. We've talked about it all night. Marshall really able to use him as part of their attack. They use him in terms of just building from the back. And we've seen that tonight.
Yeah,
he's everywhere.
Yeah, his distribution is so good. And you look at just his starting positions are so brave. He's somewhere right now between, you won't see on your screen, but he's somewhere between halfway and the top of his own box, ready to play that sort of sweeper role. And he's got the feet to back it up. His ability to play long diagonal balls into great areas.
And just a valuable asset to have on your side.
I'm sure he'll be disappointed letting that one goal in. Goalkeepers, in my experience, are always some of the most competitive people on teams.
That's interesting. First corner kick from Marshall this evening. Milo Yosef will take it for the Herd. They were due. Remember, we talked about it earlier. 13th in the country.
You never get it wrong, Megan.
The numbers don't lie, right?
Good decision by Miller. Go by Sarita.
We talked about Sarita earlier. You expected him back in the game for this one. Such an important element of the Cats' plan.
Yeah, just his ability to recognize where the space is, change the direction of the play. Again, get into that some of that space. But Danny Evans, such an important man out there. He's got to be in some space and be able to run at players and pick out a pass like that. So
It's another corner kick now for the Cats. Robert Screen, as we've seen the last two kicks. He'll take this one as well.
Johan Sedegren still talking to the fourth official down here about that contact there that Bjorgolfsson absorbed.
Kentucky will get set for this corner. Ball's in play. Bjorgolfsson goes up for it. I think he made contact, but it's not going the direction he wanted it to go, that's for sure.
Semele is a big guy to compete with in there.
And the way that one was set up, just so many bodies cramped in such a small space.
That's it. That's what Kentucky do. Create high traffic areas.
Rodriguez with the boot.
There's Miller. Steaming down the left side.
He's hard to miss over there. Danny Evans now. To Sarita with a shot. Too tall for that one. Into the student section it goes.
It's not a bad effort. He's not a million miles away there. And again, Kentucky finding some success. Just looking to try and exploit some of that space out wide and drag some of those that really compact Marshall defense into a slightly more wide position.
And when you are 74 minutes into this one, you have to take the chances like that when they come your way. Kentucky, of course, now 10 shots on the night, 6 for Marshall. And we're all tied up at 1 apiece here in Lexington. The only top 10 matchup going on across the country tonight, Gavin. Has it lived up to expectations thus far?
Yeah, it certainly has, even at 1-1. You know, I think oftentimes we only imagine the good games, the enjoyable games as ones that are packed with goals. But I think if you're enjoying the nuance elements, I think, of the game, the way these teams are patient with each other in attack and in defense, you'll appreciate this one.
Two very technical teams as well.
Certainly.
And of course, as we do get closer and closer to that 90th minute, it does become more important to talk about this. The overtime rules this season have changed. If you're tied after those 90 minutes, that's okay. It's done. It's over. It doesn't matter. It will end in a tie.
Aí,
No
galera, o que eu
overtime
falei,
in the
mudou
regular
a regra
season.
do overtime.
That's certainly
Nos
not what
jogos que
these
não
two
são
teams are used
mata-mata, se
to.
acabar 90
They've
minutos
gone to overtime
empatado, é
close
empatado.
to a dozen
Não tem mais
times
aquele...
in this series matchup.
You know,
Aquela
I
prorrogação
think it's a
com
great
gol de
change.
ouro.
It's a great change for
Agora
college
o
soccer
James sentiu
to
pouco ali.
do away with the overtime. You
Então
know,
é isso.
these
15
players will
minutos
play a lot
faltando,
of
se
games
alguém fizer
throughout
um
the
gol,
season. I
enfim,
think it's
acabar
good for
nesse
their
placar,
bodies and,
sai com a vitória.
you know,
Se
I
acabar
know
1-1,
that the,
não tem mais o tempo extra.
the
Aí fica
trainers
empatado,
and doctors and
ponto
strength
pra
and
cada.
conditioning coaches have a much easier time anticipating the needs of their players on a day-to-day basis and a week-to-week basis, because they know they're not going to be playing another 30 minutes, which at this top level is grueling.
Absolutely. And in the history of this matchup, like we mentioned, 37 times in the last 31 years, 10 times this one has gone to overtime. But tonight, a lot of action. Matthew Bell got it started for the Herd, Gavin.
Yeah, right place, right time. We've said it before. He's a very intelligent player and just reads that quicker than anyone else in the Kentucky back line.
And for Kentucky, a quick response here by Nick Gutman.
Yeah, Gutman, he's shown he's done this before. And he got a little bit lucky with the deflection off Morris Dugan. But still, he's put that ball into a dangerous area.
Mostraram aqui de novo os gols. Não tinha reparado, mas o gol da Marshall foi assistência justamente desse que está na tela, do Vini.
Coming out
Achei que
for
ia
the
ser do
Herd
outro
senior
atleta,
from
mas
Brazil.
ele que recebeu na ponta
Last
esquerda,
time
né,
he
de
played
fundo,
here, he had the
e
winning
rolou a
goal
bola na frente
for
do
Marshall.
gol
I'm sure that's been
pro
on his
Bell,
mind
o
quite a bit
artilheiro
this
da
evening.
Marshall, número
He's a
17.
special player.
Fechar do
Bags
outro
and bags
lado
of
e marcar o
ability.
gol. Então teve uma assistência de brasileiro nessa partida do Vinícius Fernandes.
Is this much a battle of wits now at this point, I think, Maggie?
I tend to agree with you. And as we saw Fernandez come out, it was Kenzo Brito who's come in now for Marshall, sophomore out of Brazil. Only played 41 minutes so far this season, so this will be an interesting test for the sophomore. And the refs will whistle that one. Screen not happy about it.
Yeah, Screen claiming he got enough of the ball, and I think he did. Again, these referees are always doing their best. There are things they're going to get right. There are things they're going to get wrong. As a player and a coach, it's your job just to move on.
Especially for Souza, who was the other player involved in that, already been assessed a yellow card tonight. Can't risk it. Maurice goes up for that one, wins the battle, so Sorida will take over. And he's off. Matthew Bell trying to catch him. Gutman will take a shot over. But it's deflected back out toward the Herd. Erickson trying to chase it down. But the Cats are out and running. Screen will try again from the right side. Didn't have the right touch on that one. Slides out of bounds. Ball still in play, though. And Rodriguez has had the touch all night.
Yeah, Maggie, I think just looking at my screen here, there's a lot of tired legs out there.
And I think that's exactly what we saw here by Screen. Just a little slide out of bounds. Lost his footing there for a minute. Maybe just slipped.
If there's one guy you're banking on there on a decent service, it's Robert Screen.
And you see just laid down there for not too long. He knew he had to get right back in, but just for a split second of, oh, can't believe I just did that.
See Josh Aldroyd down there just urging his team forward.
We have another substitution now for Marshall. Number 6, Guga Vega comes in. True freshman, logged 71 minutes so far this year. Got the start when they played number 2 Pitt. Brings a lot of energy to this team. Has been described as the team's hype man. Not a bad guy to have out there in a moment like this. Tied at 177 minutes in action.
Yeah, rallying the troops.
I always think it's interesting when you can call a true freshman your hype man. I mean, that says something special about that kid.
Yeah. You know, it's important to have different kinds of characters in your team. You know, you're always going to have those quiet players who get the job done, the Robert Screens of the world out in the field. And then you've got people who are a bit more vocal about their leadership. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you're a freshman, sophomore, junior, or senior, or beyond. If you're willing to step up to that role, you go ahead and do it. And I think it's something that can't be taught. I think it's something you have in you and you lead with, or you don't. It's a very hard thing to fake.
So Ryda with the speed. He goes to Bjorkelson. And he thought he had a clean look at it there. Look at him kicking himself already.
And you look at Sarita is already back at his own halfway line ready to defend. Just look at the energy he's got in him here since he's come on in the second half. That is just tremendous. Great piece of footwork, tremendous delivery. And Bjorgensson, we've seen him head them home before.
We have, and he's had now 3 chances like that one here tonight.
Maybe he got his hair cut.
But you could see he's frustrated. I mean, he knows more than anyone out there that he's had those looks, made good contact, just not able to connect yet so far this evening.
And a bit like Bell, he doesn't need much. You give him an inch, he'll take a mile.
Waiting on a throw in here by Colin Masiunas. And just a slight change of momentum you start to feel, especially when the herd crowd starts to get into it. You see Mohamed Sedu on the back line for Marshall now. He's another one of those guys. We talked about it earlier with Okiyoshi, but someone who really has let the game take him just about everywhere. Started off in Ghana from the same area as one of his teammates, Alexander Ajate.
Yeah, college soccer is one of these great things. It takes people from all over the world and brings them to, college towns.
Yeah.
Somewhere like Huntington, West Virginia, or Highland Heights, Kentucky, for me, somewhere I don't think I would have ended up otherwise.
Exactly.
And brings together a group of guys and a group of women to go and play this wonderful, wonderful game and create all these great college memories.
And in between his stops in Ghana and then, like you mentioned, in Huntington, West Virginia, Sedu made a stop at the South Kent School, along with 2 of his other teammates in Connecticut.
That's right, and Rodriguez just need to get that right between them.
As we get farther into this match, Galvin, you definitely see people are being a little bit more audacity, I would say.
Yeah.
Try and pull off some tricks like that one. And when you get away with it,
Yeah.
Maurice was certainly not happy about it.
You've got to be a gambler at this point. If you're a winner, you're a gambler.
Is that how gambling works?
Well, less about gambling itself and more about being a player.
We've hit the 81st minute here, so 9 more minutes of play here in Lexington. Nick Gutman with the shot for the Wildcats, out back to Sarita. And it feels like the Cats are hungry in this moment.
Yeah, certainly. They're pushing players up. Grosso, the anchor back there. Miller not too far away. Always handy to have a burst of pace when you need it.
Danny Evans racing to get set on that one.
Here, 4v3.
It's Danny Evans again, but he's side tackled on that one. No call. And Marshall back with the ball, making a move. Robert Screen tries to slow him down. Rodriguez set in place, but Matthew Bell will take it. Casper Bowles, good save for the freshman keeper for the Wildcats.
It is truly end to end here. And it's just a fantastic tackle from Vega. Absolutely world class.
Textbook.
Certainly not one he could afford to get wrong.
And a good response by Casper Moles, who didn't have a lot of time on that one, especially when you know that it's Matthew Bell. Probably the fastest player out there.
Yeah, Moles has been pivotal here the second half and has made several important saves.
That's his 4th save of the evening on the other side. Simla has 3.
guys between the sticks getting kept busy tonight. Wonderful recovery run from screen. He looks
look
like
at Rodriguez here. We talked about this at the start of the game. Not flashy, but consistent.
Yeah.
Where you need him to be.
You know, I think what you need to see there is that Rodriguez, just by getting the right sort of pressure onto Bell, not enough that he can be turned and beat, but enough to make it predictable for his goalkeeper behind him. You can see he closed down that near post for Bell, and Moles knows that Bell, if he wants to get a shot away, has to go to Rodriguez's left. And so much about defending is making things predictable for players around you. And there's a fantastic moment, I think, for where Rodriguez demonstrates his ability to be a top-class defender without going in 2 feet in the air.
Now we see Matthew Bell making his way, for at least the second time tonight, off to the sidelines. We've talked about it all night, his speed and his ability to be a dynamic playmaker out there. You do wonder if this is some sort of cramping, or if there was an injury out there. Of course, you hope the best for anyone, especially a player of that caliber.
Certainly.
You want him out there.
Certainly. I think some of it is, you're hitting that point in the season as you're getting into conference play where your body's starting to feel a little bit beat. And, part of being a college player is being able to sort of turn around and play the next day and play. How can you play at 50% or 60%? That's a real challenge.
Right. And as a true freshman, obviously one he is still learning a lot about. Rodriguez is all over that one. We'll get another look at it.
Yeah, Amashi. Textbook stuff, just getting himself between the ball and the defender, absorbing that impact. Referee has done a good job here in the second half, just handling the game as it's become increasingly spirited.
And of course, as it does so, it creates moments like this, moments of huge opportunity. As we are in the 83rd minute now, and Milo Yosef lines up for this one.
There'll be a few more gray hairs on that Kentucky bench after this moment is dealt with.
Screen, Gutman closest to Yosef here.
Anywhere between Moles and that line of Marshall and Kentucky players.
Ball is in play. Casper Moles dives for it. He's out.
Offside.
And it's been called offside. That one will not go on the board for the Herd. Marshall clearly disagrees.
I think what Amashi is claiming is that because it's hit a Kentucky player that he's not offside. And Marshall are fuming.
We'll get a closer look at it, see if we can decide for ourselves here.
That all moves a little bit quick for me. I think the claim will be, I'm not sure who it was. It might have been Amashi. I think the claim will be that he interfered with play while he was stood in an offside position.
Lance confuso, hein? Eu acho que o que estava impedido é o que estava voltando, deixou a bola passar e o outro veio por trás. Então, o comentarista está até falando agora que provavelmente ele pode ter pegado interferência, mas eu acho que ele se confundiu mesmo. E é até legal falar que teve uma galera do banco da marcha fazendo o símbolo do VAR. No college, na D1, as D1s que tem essa tecnologia, eles até têm um assistente de vídeo, só que, pelas regras da NCAA, são só para verificar lances de agressão, enfim, lances que sejam algo
Didn't have the
relacionado a
height
isso.
to
A
go against a
parte
keeper like that. We'll take another look at offside call
disciplinar. Eles
here.
não podem ver impedimento, pênalti, enfim, nada disso. Só na parte disciplinar
Both
que
sides
eles podem
immediately, you
ver
could tell,
o vídeo.
knew that that might be in
Então,
play.
poderia ser o gol da vitória, mas foi anulado, então continua 1-1.
That's certainly something that the coaching staff and the team will probably spend a lot of time talking about and reviewing over the next couple of days. But for now, you have to be able to put that behind you, Gavin, right? With less than 5 minutes still on the clock.
Yeah,
To
certainly.
try and get this from a draw to a win.
Yeah, no point dwelling on things. There will be a time to look at things again and make assessments. But for right now, you got 5 minutes left to win a soccer game.
From the substitution for Marshall from the time of section, number 18, out of section. Correct quarter section, condition.
We've seen these teams play aggressive, be intense, be fast all night long. It can't be overstated here. That's exactly what they're looking to do.
Yeah, we're nearing the bottom of the tank, I think, for both of these teams. They've put so much in.
Max Miller thought he had a shot there and just bounced that one off of Danny Evans.
Just a misfire.
Both teams will reset, but the clock will continue to run. And that's really who both teams are up against at this point. We talked about it earlier. In the last 31 years, these two teams have gone to overtime in the regular season or the postseason 10 total times. No overtime allowed anymore. New rule change this year. No overtime in the regular season. Kentucky thought it had the momentum going for it there.
Just a sloppy moment.
And that's the sort of play you have to expect 87 minutes
Sure.
into this one. Both teams obviously getting desperate. And just willing to do what it takes. And sometimes that does lead to sloppy play.
Yeah.
We're seeing a little bit of that here.
It rarely looks this pretty this late in the game if you've done everything else right.
Green, I think, trying to set Gutman up for that one. But Simla will come out of the box to pick it up instead.
There's Martin Sarita again. Full of energy even this late in the game. And, that's sort of the beauty, I think, of having that rotation between those players and they're in the midfield and having some of that depth for Kentucky is that you've got guys like that who still have their legs at a late stage.
Gutman to screen, but it's deflected by Sedu. Kentucky's definitely not giving up. Marshall's defense stout as it has been all night. Sarita with the shot, but it's too high.
Just missing that little bit of quality that we were able to see earlier on in the game. And it's just tired legs. It's just tired legs.
Almost 89 minutes now of just running. I mean, these teams have been back and forth all night long.
1 minute.
I think we're tired just looking at them.
I'll certainly take an off day tomorrow. Jorgelson trying to get a late one off for the Wildcats. He takes it to Sarita.
They want to get this ball going quickly.
Quick replay here before we see the Cats line up for a corner kick.
And that's Soraya again bursting into the box.
And that's what you need. We've talked about it. You need a burst of energy here. Screen puts it into play. 20 seconds on the clock. Grasso puts it up. The Cats aren't able to get a quality look at it. Ball's out of bounds.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
And that will do it here in Lexington. End of regulation, no overtime in the regular season. So this one is final. Kentucky won, Marshall won.
É isso, como falei, sem overtime, então fim de jogo, uma certa pressão de Kentucky no final, gol relativamente polêmico anulado de Marshall e 1-1, acho que um jogo equilibrado, pelo número 6 contra o número 7 do país. Cara, intensidade lá em cima, para quem analisa futebol mesmo, os comentaristas estavam falando disso agora no final da partida, qualidade técnica, qualidade física, enfim. Jogo de nível muito alto, como eu falei, as duas equipes são da mesma conferência, então uma delas pode ser campeã da conferência e ganhar a vaga direta para os Nationals, só que a outra também pode classificar pelo convite, né, pelo ranqueamento. Como as duas equipes estão ranqueadas, se continuarem assim, as chances são grandes que as duas cheguem nos Nationals. Mas é isso então, galera. Valeu, boa noite, abraço pro Marcos, família do Lucas, família do Vinícius, família do João, que estavam por aqui, família do Gabriel, família do Kenzo, um abraço para os brasileiros. Quem estava acompanhando aí, que está jogando, ex-atletas da Marcos, Pedro do Abel, estão assistindo também. Mas é isso, vou soltar o resto da transmissão e acabando aqui eu já encerro. Valeu, galera, boa noite, até mais.
Yes, and a fast-paced game, you certainly could see it on display tonight. And you saw it there with the reaction, the excitement of that goal, and then the quick sort of dejection you feel when that one was called offside. So we will end with a draw here in Lexington. Number 6, Kentucky. Number 7, Marshall. A great display of college soccer. You never know, Gavin, these teams could meet again down the road. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for joining us here on ESPN Plus. For Gavin Colton, I'm Maggie Davis. Have a great night.